Hey guys, in this episode, we're talking about the best tripod to fit your needs, so be sure to stay tuned. One's died off quite a bit. So guys, here lately, I've been getting quite a few questions about the tripod setup that I use and the videos that you guys see, and also asking for recommendations on the type of tripod that you should get. But the problem with that question is that it's really not cut and dry. It's not a black or white type of answer. So in this video, I'm kind of wanting to go over different setups, pros and cons of each one, why might you choose certain things over the other, and what are key things that you need to be looking for in purchasing a tripod for you. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have an idea of what you should be purchasing and looking for on your next tripod. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and let's get started. Now the first thing I want to talk about is tripod construction. And what I mean by this is what material are the tripod legs made out of. Now this tripod here is a aluminum based tripod as far as the legs go. So these legs here are just aluminum tubes. Or so the tripod on this side is a carbon fiber based leg tripod. So this aluminum tripod is relatively inexpensive. You can buy aluminum based tripods a lot cheaper than carbon fiber based tripods. They're still going to be just as strong. They're still going to be just as durable, but this just comes at the cost of weight. So they're going to be heavier, and two, they're going to be slightly noisier when you hit the legs. And on the carbon fiber tripod, we are getting less weight. So this tripod is relatively lightweight, although being really durable and strong and rigid, and it also gives off less noise. So if I was to have, let's say, my barrel come in contact with the leg, or my rifle sling come in contact with the leg, it kind of just gives a overall deader noise and doesn't ting as loud as the aluminum tripod does. So this is the aluminum tripod. Giving it not a hard tap, just a little light tap with the flashlight. Now let's go to the carbon fiber tripod. So still gives off noise, not that the carbon fiber tripod is just dead quiet and won't ever make noise. It just kind of gives a overall deader noise and doesn't ting so loud, which I really like. Now, that's kind of a nitpicky thing, and that really doesn't matter for most people unless you're gonna be in a hunting situation. If you're gonna be in a hunting situation, you really wanna make sure you get a tripod that has less noise, because the last thing you wanna do is have your sling come in contact with the tripod leg or whatever come in contact with the leg, and all of a sudden scare that coyote or whatever you're trying to shoot at away. But like I said in the beginning, both tripod materials are gonna give you a strong, stable platform, but I, however, just prefer to go carbon on most tripods. Now the next thing I want to talk about is how many tripod length extension sections do you have? Or essentially what I mean is how many of these guys do you have? Do you only have one? Do you have a 2-section? Or do you have 3 adjustments or a 4-section tripod essentially? That's what that's meaning. The reason why I bring this up, because the more sections you have, the smaller and compact the tripod can be. And although that sounds really cool and really handy, and it is for certain applications, but it's also going to be more tedious to set that tripod up. Because when I go to set up my tripod, I have to set out and move each section. And then if my height isn't right, I have to go through and figure out what section do I need to shorten. And it's an okay system, but it's just not the best way to do things. I am not the biggest fan of a 4-section tripod like you see here, although it is very compact and it can get as tall as I am. And it's really good for, I would say, backpacking or photography or video work. It's really what it's meant for. It's not really meant for putting a big rifle on and being able to be quickly adjusting at a match or in a hunting application. For those applications, I'm going to recommend get a 2-section or a 3-section tripod. So on this tripod, it is only a 2-section tripod. It has 1 adjustment per leg, and I really like that because I can set this tripod up very, very quickly and adjust this height very rapidly to fit the needs for that moment. So I would recommend get a 2-section tripod if you're wanting to get into PRS matches or getting into long range shooting matches, and you need to quickly set up a tripod for observation, or you have to deploy the tripod under the time clock like an NRL hunter match. I also really like a 2-section tripod if I'm doing a lot of varmint hunting and I'm quickly moving from spot to spot to spot, and I'm quickly breaking down and tearing up my setup for each location. But a 3-section tripod like you see here also does very well for a lot of those same applications. So moving up from the tripod, we get to the base, or basically where our tripod head would attach to it. Now on this side, we have a standard tripod base where the legs come together at the very top, relatively compact, and comes out, and there is a 3/8 stud that I can attach any kind of tripod head to. So on this tripod over here, we see things are done just a little different. The legs come up and come together, but they have a much wider footprint, a much wider base up top. You can quickly loosen the head and pop this out. So this is a bowl style tripod. You can swap this out for different style bowl up top. You can get different types of heads. But the biggest advantage to this style tripod base up top is that it gives us a wider footprint and gives us a little bit more stable shot. So if all you're doing is precision style shooting and shooting long range and on the flat range and not really hunting a lot, this is an awesome thing to use. I really like it. If I'm just solely shooting off of a tripod, this is my tripod to pick, just really because of this. The legs are really beefy, really strong and really rigid. Gives me a very wide footprint to be very stable on my shot. Not that this tripod can't be stable. I can still get really stable with it. I just don't like it quite as much for shooting as this one. But to be honest, I'm kind of nitpicking at this point. I could take this tripod and never have this tripod again, and I'd honestly be fine. It's not that big of a deal. It's just those little things that you pick up on when you start using them a lot. So moving up, we have the ball head. This is one of the most crucial parts of your tripod because this is how you are attaching your gun or your spotting scope or your binos or whatever you're trying to do to the tripod. It's really crucial that you don't skimp out too much on this ball head because it's quite literally how you attach the thing to your tripod. Think of it like a scope mount. You could spend $1,000 on a scope, but if you buy a $30 scope mount, it's probably not gonna go very well for you. And kind of the same concept for here. What you also don't want to do is buy a very small diameter ball head. I would recommend getting something like a 40 to a 50-ish millimeter ball head. These two tripods here are a 55 millimeter tripod head, and they work awesome. They hold my 20+ pound match guns, no problem. And what makes them a little bit more special is that they are what's called a dual tension tripod head. So these two knobs up top is how I set my bowl tension here. So I have my big coarse adjustment, then I have my fine tune adjustment on my ball head. So I can add some tension on this micro knob and all of a sudden change it and almost completely lock it down. And then I can fully lock it down with a coarse one. So if I want to make it where I can loosen my coarse knob and still be able to have a little bit of resistance on the tripod head, I can, or I can back it off completely and make it be completely loose. Another really nice thing that I like about this style ball head is that right now my pan feature is completely locked down, but if I undo my bottom knob, I now have a pan feature, and it's completely separate from the ball head. So I have panning and I have a ball head adjustment. And I kind of really like that. Or so this Bog Pod here, it is just one coarse adjustment for everything. This Bog Pod tripod here, I think is around a 40-ish millimeter tripod head. It works good up to guns that are super heavy like my match guns. I can throw on like my Sig Cross, it's only 12 or 13 pounds, handles it great. But you try to put really heavy guns, it starts to struggle a little bit because it doesn't have as much surface area. The last thing I want to go over is how we attach the gun to the tripod. What I mean by this is that you could either have an ARCA system, like on all of these heads, or you can have something like this Death Grip. This just happens to have an ARCA attachment on the bottom. The advantage to this system is that it's going to fit any gun out there for the most part. from Grandpappy's Remington 700 to a shotgun to an AR to a regular bolt gun and a chassis. Doesn't really matter. Pretty much any gun can go right into it. And from that aspect, it's really nice. But there's definitely some big downsides to it. One, there's not really a way to attach any type of binos or spotting scope or anything to this grip. So that's gonna be one big downfall. This can pretty much only be used for guns and guns only. And this is where Arca comes on the scene. And I love Arca. Everything I use now is pretty much Arca system. So for demonstration purposes, let's go ahead and let's grab a gun just so I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. So this rifle is clear to all those who are super worried about that. But this is an Arca system running the entire length of the forend. And the advantage to this is the fact that I can quickly move my ball head here, adapt this gun to this tripod and be very secure. Go ahead, throw this gun on, lock it down, and just like that, this rifle is locked down absolutely solid. This gun is just not going anywhere at all. It is on there. And this is one thing that I really like about Arca systems, is the fact that I can quickly attach guns on or click them into the system, and then I can quickly adjust them. I can quickly loosen this tension knob up and move this anywhere on the forend that I want and tighten it back down. I really like that. I really like the modularity that Arca gives me. We can also see that the bipod that I'm using on this system is also an Arca attachment system, so I can quickly move my Atlas bipod back and forth. One con, however, with an Arca system is that you have to build the gun with the intentions and in mind that you're gonna have an Arca system on it. And if the gun doesn't have an Arca system on it, how are you going to attach it? Are you gonna do it with M-LOK? Are you going to have to drill and tap into your stock? I've had to do that before. Are you just going to buy a chassis like this one that already has that built into it? So you kind of have to know ahead of time what you're wanting to build and have that be one of the things to keep in mind when you're building that precision rifle. One thing though I really like about Arca is that I can quickly move from putting on a spotting scope. So I can move this attachment system and I can have, let's say, my spotting scope up top, and I can quickly take my spotting scope off and throw my rifle on, especially let's say in a hunting application. Or like on this tripod, I kind of have it set up as like an observation station. So I have it with a tack table up top, attached also with an Arca plate. Put that back on. So this system is kind of designed so I can quickly show up to a stage on a match or show up on a range day, let's say, and I have a system that I can have a soft bag up top to use my binos and get a quick range, and I can dial in on my Kestrel and go straight to shooting. Or I can use like this tripod here that I kind of have this for filming and camera stuff, but when I go on long range hunts, then I can bring this with me and I can use the same tripod that I would use to glass with, and I can quickly move over and put my rifle on it and shoot off of it. Is this going to give me the most stable shooting platform as, let's say, these big tripods here? No, they're not. But I'm not shooting continually and I'm only needing to make one shot happen. So that being the case, I really like bringing something like this and have one tripod do my glassing and that same tripod do the shooting that I would do on that trip. And yet again, that's all thanks to having an Arca system up top, so I can use one tripod to do both jobs. Well guys, that's it for this video. Key things to know and that I would recommend for a tripod. I would highly recommend get a carbon fiber tripod, something like this. Companies that I would recommend as far as that goes that I would have personal experience with and I like are Leofoto and TwoVets. Two great companies that I really like and semi-affordable. For tripod heads, there are lots of good companies out there. I really do like the TwoVets tripod heads, and they're kind of what I'm moving towards across the board over everything. I really like them. They make really good heads. They have area 4 and 9 clamps up top, which I really like, and they're really secure. Other key things, make sure you're getting a 2-section or a 3-section tripod. Don't buy a 4-section. You're gonna wanna punch yourself in the face probably the first time you try to use it. And adapt your guns to Arca if you can. If you can't, use the death grip style attachment system. I'm just not the biggest fan of it if you're trying to get the most out of your tripod. Well guys, that's all I got. Be sure to get out there, do some training. Hunting season's coming up pretty soon, so make sure you're keeping up with that. If you have a big hunt coming up, make sure you get lots of practice setting up your tripod, shooting off of it. If you can't afford ammo, because ammo, I'm not gonna lie, is really expensive, make sure you do lots of dry fire. Set up drills in your house or out in your yard of just practice setting up your tripod for the proper height that you're going to be shooting off of, and just get dry fire reps, shooting that rifle, practicing being stable off of your system. We're gonna have a separate video coming up pretty soon off of shooting off of a tripod and recommendations and how to set that up and kind of have the tripod work for you. Other than that, guys, hope you learned something. Hope I was able to help some of you guys out there on trying to figure out what tripod setup you should be looking at. And let me know in the comment section if I missed anything, and let me know your favorite tripod brand and why, and let's have a discussion. Let's learn together, because that's really what it's all about. Guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the video. It really helps our little video out a lot in the YouTube analytics. But until next time, guys, I'll see you in the next video.